The IAC, idle air control, is a system that activates during the engine's idle operation. When the throttle is fully closed, this valve allows a small amount of air to enter the intake manifold, preventing the engine from stalling. The primary function of the IAC valve is to maintain the necessary engine idle speed according to the load. For instance, if you turn on the air conditioner in a stationary car, the IAC's role is to allow a bit more air to flow in so that the engine can continue operating without stalling under the increased load. If the valve struggles with these tasks, you can try cleaning it. This is typically done using carburetor cleaners or similar products. However, this solution is not always effective. The idle control valve's design is quite complex and it often fails completely. In such cases, replacement of the valve is necessary. If you've ever replaced an idle control valve, you know that right after installing a new part, the car might behave like it's gone mad. The RPMs could surge to 3000 or 4000 immediately after starting the engine, or the car might try to operate at 400-450 RPM. In either case, there is an urgent feeling that something needs to be adjusted or fixed. But what can you do? Firstly, it's important to give the new valve some time. It can learn and adjust on its own, meaning you might not need to make any changes. This worked well with older General Motors engines, where these valves regularly broke every year, but could learn without extra intervention and were easily replaced in like 5 minutes. Secondly, make sure the valve is indeed the correct one for your engine. It's best to select this part based on the VIN code and double check everything carefully before installation. Thirdly, you can attempt to train the valve. The procedure for doing this varies with each vehicle. You will need to find specific instructions online. Generally, you might try starting the car, holding the RPMs at 3000 for a few seconds, turning off the engine for 10 seconds, turning on the ignition for 10 seconds, then turning off the ignition again and restarting the engine. During this simple procedure, the IAC valve will fully open and close several times, allowing the ECU, engine control unit, to recognize the new part. However, be aware that the training process can differ for different vehicles. Fourth, you can teach the IAC valve and synchronize it with the ECU using a scanner and somewhat professional software. This involves knowing how to properly test and reset the idle control valve settings so that the engine control module can reacquaint itself with this part. It's usually best to do this at repair shop with a trusted mechanic. And the fifth point, you can try disconnecting the battery for a few minutes to reset the ECU. When the computer is repowered, it will re-query all sensors, valves and solenoids it controls. This way it can familiarize itself with the new idle control valve and properly adjust it. In any case, you may need to drive for a while and observe any idle anomalies. If the issue doesn't resolve over time, it indicates that the valve is faulty or not suitable for your engine. If you installed the valve yourself, you might have to try your luck again. However, if a dealer installed a faulty valve, you should go back and complain about the poor idling. Let the dealer take responsibility for the malfunction and find ways to fix it. It's important to ensure that the issue is properly addressed, especially if it's a result of incorrect installation or a mismatched part.